Yo guys, it's Nintendo and welcome back to another video where I talk about another update for Splatoon because another one is out sometime today. I believe it's like 9 p.m. Eastern, but let's get right into this. First off, we have the specials, and the first one here got buffed, and that was the Stingray. Now, the damage-dealing beam gets bigger, and also it creates shockwaves, and also, the duration of the special has now been increased by 0.5 seconds. So, overall, a very bad special, but hopefully it will be better, and I can't wait to see those shockwaves. I want to know what it's going to look like. Next is the splashdown, and most of the time when you're at the peak of the splat zone and someone is near you, you die. So what they did was they decreased the time you were up there by 1/6 of the second. It's not that much, but it's still something. What they also did was the minimal damage of the splashdown has now been increased from 40 to 55. They have increased the height of it by 31%, which is I thought was a lot. And they also reduced some of the special points for some of the weapons. Next is the Ink Storm, and what happened was that it got a 13% more of a radius to rain down ink, and also some of the weapons had a change of how much ink they need to charge the special. Next is the Baller, and what they fixed with the Baller was that the knockback was decreased. They increased the default endurance or stamina by 33%, increased the explosion radius 17% more damage, 7% more inking, changed minimum explosion damage from 30 to 55, increased knockback effect against opponents on explosion. Next is the Inkjet, and they increased the hitbox of player versus enemy bullets, shooter weapons, so it'll be easier to shoot down, decreased explosion radius at point of impact, 17% for damage, 20% for inking, and decreased damage dealt by exhaust underneath the Inkjet by 75%. And the final special is Ink Armor, and what they did to fix it was that they decreased invincibility at the time when the armor is broken by 8/60ths of a second. That's kind of weird. When receiving more than 100 damage at once, any excess damage will knock the Ink Armor user back. Upper limit capped at 880. Now, some of the sub-weapons also got fixed in this update, and the first one here was a Sprinkler, and the first thing, like the first bulleted point, it was kind of difficult to translate, he said, so it doesn't really make sense, and I have no idea what it means, but it says, ink is released in 3 stages, increase the middle of these stages in duration by 5 seconds. No idea what that means, but the second one does make sense when it says, ink consumption decreased from 80% to 70% of the ink tank. Next here is the point sensor, and what happened was that it expanded the radius by 20% and reduced the amount of time it took to start recovering ink after throwing it by 15/60ths of a second. Again, with the 60ths, I don't know. Next is the splash wall, and how they fixed it was they shortened the time between throwing and deployment by 0.5 seconds. Not that much, but it's still something. And the last sub-weapon that had something changed is the Squid Beacon, and the ink consumption decreased from 90% to 75% of the ink tank. I don't know why I said it that way, but... Now next we have only one change to the performance of a main weapon, and you can guess what it is. It's the Tri-Slosher Nerf. Finally, everyone has wanted this, and we knew it was coming at some point. The maximum damage dealt decreased from 62 to 52, 10 damage lost when you're gonna hit them, and the range shortened by 9%. I think this is the best thing in this update, to be honest. Now, there are always these sections in these updates where they change the special charge points of some of the weapons, and what I do with these is that I don't like to talk about them because it's really, really repetitive, and I would just like to show you guys, so here you go. For the battle fixes, one of them was the auto special gauge charge dependent on mode and rule set, now based on points needed per weapon basis rather than consistent over amount of time. So when you die, your special gauge does not drop, or at least this is what I'm getting from this, and it just stays the same until you can get enough points to fill it up, or if it was already filled up. I'm guessing, but then again, it wouldn't really make sense because there's an ability called Special Saver, so I don't think I'm right, but that's what I got from it. There are a lot more battle fixes, and I feel like for this one I'm also going to do another one of those little sections where you can just read them. So here we go. They also have some Splatfest fixes where they change the number of points required to level up Splatfest T-slots. I'm not going to say it because it's going to be repetitive, so you can see it right there. And also, they fixed the issue where players appearing in the plaza after Splatfest battles showed as having no shirts slots unlocked, even though I wouldn't know that because I didn't get to play Splatfest 2 times in a row. And the patches that did not fit into any category, where when talking to merch, you can now see your money and Super Sneeze Snow count in the corner of the screen. Fixed issue where rank meter incorrectly displays as ranking in the case that bar was empty and there was a disconnection. Fixed issue where some gear such as Splatfest T would not be displayed in the correct order while sorting by frequently used, and fixed damage issue where the ball are in the testing area, which I don't know anything about. And that is it for the patches. It's been a very bad video, very scattered out, but I've been doing this for a few hours and I really have to go. So yeah, bye.